Hello guys, welcome to MindMajix, and in this special session our trainer will explain everything you need to know about the Spring Boot. Before beginning the session, let's look at the topics you will cover in this video. We shall start with what is AOP, Aspect-Oriented Programming, and we will continue with AOP Terminologies, Types of Advices, Method before advice, after returning advice, and we will end this session with Method Interceptor. Please check the caption to jump between the topics. If you are new to the MindMajix channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon to get quick updates about the new tech tutorials, free webinars, and career-enhancing shorts from working professionals. Like and share the video. Without any further delay, let's start the video.
Let's begin with our first concept, that is, what is aspect-oriented programming? AOP, the full form is aspect-oriented programming, is a simple programming paradigm that focuses on increasing modularity with the help of separation of cross-cutting concepts. I mean to say, as a developer, when we are developing an application, either by using Spring or Spring Boot, you must have you must have come across with the word AOP. So AOP simply stands for aspect-oriented programming. Although AOP concept is a little bit tough to understand, but undoubtedly it makes the developer's life easy. You feel it more than easy once you complete with all the concepts of AOP, like how to implement AOP Spring Boot application, and what are the different terminologies we are using in AOP, all these things. Okay. So generally, when developing an application, you might have observed that there are certain lines of code which appear in every class, right? Am I right or not? When we are executing our application. So what will happen if we keep those the repeating lines of code in a separate class? So on doing so, we will have a better readability of the code. Also, we can use them whenever they are required to be referenced. So we'll have a better code readability. So that's the reason generally we are going to use AOP, the concept name AOP, Aspect Oriented Programming. It's a simple model. The main agenda of this one is it's used to increase modularity with the help of separation of cross-cutting concepts. Okay, so we are going to apply this AOP. Okay, aspect-oriented programming with the help of some advices on our application where we required actually. Generally, application development is nothing but, for example, if you are implementing Spring Boot application, there may be a different layers, right? So in all the layers, the common things are that every layer, how we are trying to execute and how the functionality is working, we are going to get it know with the help of some logging services, right? So instead of writing the logging services in each and every application, so we are going to separate it with the help of AOP. AOP is the methodology to apply middleware services on Spring application. What does mean by middleware services? Middleware services is nothing but those are some additional services that are applied on the application to make your application more perfect and more accurate in all the situations. For example, transaction management is one simple example, or security services, or logging services, or JDBC connection pooling, or some kind of performance monitoring, or caching, or custom business rules, etc. All these are the examples for, AOP. Okay, so this, when it comes to AOP, so that we are going to allows us to write application code and middleware services separately, and allows to link middleware services code with application through either XML files or annotations. Okay. I mean to say here the main agenda of this AOP is, so whatever the required things for there for any application, so to make your application more perfect, so whatever the services are required, we are not going to apply it on every layer. We are separating those things and we are going to link up with our application code. Okay, our application business logic. AOP code of middleware services become reusable. I mean, so we just need to write only one time, and wherever it is required, you are just going to apply it actually. Okay. If we write code of middleware services directly in the application, then what happens? Middleware services code becomes specific to that application only. I mean to say there is no reusability. So moreover, the code of middleware services may dominate application code. Okay, so that's the reason better to separate this AOP logic separately as well as our business logic code separately, and we can able to bind it actually. I will show you how to do it that one. Okay, so for that, we need one simple support. So that is with the help of AOP, aspect-oriented programming entails breaking down program logics into distinct parts. So that is called as a cross-cutting concerns. Okay, what does it mean by these concerns? A cross-cutting concerns is nothing but the part of our program that affects other part of in the application. Other part of the program in our application. As the name suggests, it is a concern which has influence in the entire application. In other words, it is applicable throughout the application. Generally, we incorporate these concerns in almost every layer of enterprise application. For example, logging, security, transaction management, data transfer, error handling, performance monitoring, caching, custom business rule, etc. Okay. So, whatever the functions we are using, so these functions, the functions that span multiple points of an application, so those are calling cross-cutting concepts. So the cross-cutting concepts are conceptually separate from the application business logic. Okay. Generally, AOP and OOP both are not same. Generally, OOP is nothing but object-oriented programming, whereas AOP is nothing but aspect-oriented programming. The main key unit of modularity in OOP is the class, whereas in AOP, the unit of modularity is the aspect. So dependency injection, so that helps you decouple your application objects from each other, and AOP helps you decouple cross-cutting concerns from objects that they affect. Okay. Just like dependency injection, so that helps you to decouple your application objects from each other, and AOP main agenda is use it to decouple cross-cutting concerns from the objects so that they are going to affect. Okay. AOP module provides interceptors to intercept an application. For example, when a method is executed, you can add some extra functionality before or after method execution. Okay. And as part of our AOP implementation, we are going to use different terminologies. Okay. Like aspect, advice, join point, Pointcut, advisor, wiring, weaving, target object, proxy object, etc. Okay. What is exactly advice? Generally, what exactly aspect? Aspect is nothing but it is the specification which contains some rules and guidelines to implement middleware services practically. Okay, it contains some classes. Okay, some with the help of those classes we are going to implement the advice practically. Okay. I mean, the main agenda of this aspect, as I already told you, it contains a lot of classes. With the help of those classes, we are going to implement aspect. So by using the use of those classes, we are going to implement the advice. I mean to say, advice is nothing but it's a real middleware service, which is the implementation of aspect. Okay. And what is mean by join point? Join point is nothing but it is used to combine the point cut and advice. I mean to say, there are some, join point is nothing but possible positions in our business method where advices can be applied. A join point combines the point cut with advices, so it connects the selected business logic methods with the required advices. Okay. For example, we are going to apply it on different possible positions is nothing but either beginning of the business method or end of the business method, or business method returns a value, or business method throws some exception, etc. Okay. What is mean by point cut? Point cut is nothing but one simple either XML or annotation based entry, so that links advice with join point of business method. A point cut is an expression that tells us which business logic needs advice. However, one point is to notice that point cut never tells us what advice to apply, but in its expression, it only specifies the list of business logic methods where we need to apply advice. Okay. In brief, it's a kind of business logic method selector as a whole. Okay. And what is mean by advisor? A simple point is advice plus point cut together is called simply advisor. I mean to say, before applying advice on business method, so it will be taken in the form of advisor object. Okay. What is mean by wiring? Wiring is nothing but simple meaning, whatever the bean properties we are using for our application development. So we are going to configuring bean properties for dependency injection is simply called wiring. Okay. What is mean by weaving? Applying middleware services on Spring Bean class through aspect-oriented programming is simply called as weaving. Okay. Like in brief, weaving is the process of mixing required advices with business logic methods. What is mean by target object? A Spring Bean class object on which we are planning to apply middleware services is called simply target bean or target object. I mean say target is nothing but a simple plain business class without any advice. So this is our target which needs advice. Okay. A proxy object is nothing but so a Spring Bean class object on which middleware services are already applied is simply called as proxy object. I mean, proxy is a final output of weaving. In fact, a proxy object gets created when a business method mixed with advice. Okay. And there are different types of advices. Like basically we can able to categorize as either 4 types or 5 types. Okay. Those are the first one is before advice, after advice, throws advice, around advice. Here I forgot to mention one thing, that is returning, after returning advice, all these things. What is mean by before advice? So this advice executes at the beginning of the business method execution. I mean to say, before advice executes before the execution of business method. I mean to say, Once advice execution completes, method execution will take place automatically. What does it mean by after advice? So this after advice executes at the end of the business method. I mean to say, after advice executes after the execution of business method. So once method execution completes, advice execution will take place automatically. Okay. What is mean by throws advice? Executes when application is raised in the business method. I mean to say, this throws advice executes after the execution of business method, but only if method fails to execute successfully. I mean to say, if any exception is there, then only this advice comes into the picture. Okay. And one more advice is around advice. What is mean by this? Executing at beginning of the business method and at the end of the business method. I mean to say, around advice executes in two parts. Some part executes before the execution of business method, whereas other part executes after the execution of business method. Okay. And one more thing, one more is after returning advice. So it executes after the execution of business method, but only if method executes successfully by returning some value. Okay, by returning some value. And don't confuse that what the among the after returning and after throwing advices, because after advice mandatorily executes after the execution of business method, but other two advices, I mean say after returning advice, after throwing advice, so those are may or may not execute after the execution of business method. I mean, after returning advice will execute only on successful execution of business method, whereas after throwing advice will execute only on failure in execution of business method. Okay. And as I already told you, generally, if you want to apply this AOP in Spring Boot application or Spring application, wherever it may be, basically there are two ways to implement this AOP in Spring or Spring Boot application. One is by using XML based configuration. So this method uses XML to implement AOP methods, AOP concepts. Even though, but nowadays, most of the developers are using annotations actually, Aspect.J annotations. So here, we completely use annotations. Moreover, Aspect.J is an aspect-oriented programming library as extension created at, for the programming, for the Java programming languages. Okay. So if you want to apply these advices in your application, basically, as you already told you, we are going to use some annotations, Aspect.J annotations. Okay. For example, if you want to apply any aspect, then you just need to work with one simple annotation, that is @aspect annotation. So we apply @aspect on top of the class. So that is represent that this class can work as an aspect. Okay. And we are going to write @Pointcut annotation. So that is applied on top of a method in the aspect class. So it has an expression in the bracket to select the business methods accordingly. Okay. It will select the business methods which needs advice, but never talks about which advice. Okay. And if you want to apply before the method, then we are just going to use one simple annotation, that is @before annotation. So method annotated with @before, that represents the before advice, and it will execute before the execution of business method. @after annotation. So this annotation will help you, that is method annotated with @after annotation, that represent the after advice, and it will execute after the execution of business method. Okay. and at the rate after returning. So this method annotated with at the rate after returning that represents the after returning advice, and it will execute after the execution of business method. Okay, but if the method executes successfully at the rate after throwing, so this annotations will execute or it represent the after throwing advice, and it will execute after the execution of business method, but only if method fails to execute successfully. And if you want to apply around, then you just need to work with at the rate around annotation. So this at the rate around represents the around advice. So it executes in two parts. Some part executes before the execution of business method, whereas other part executes after the execution of the business method. Okay. So these are the required annotations to implement our application. So this is the theoretical information. So now I'm going to implement one simple either web application or services based application. So on that application, I'm going to apply some services. Okay, so that you will get better idea. So to create one simple Spring Boot project, there are many ways out there, but in that the best way is I'm going to create Spring Boot project with the help of one IDE, that is Spring Tool Suite. So this is the one. Okay, Spring Tool Suite. So how to create project in Spring Tool Suite? Very simple. Just we need to click on create new Spring Starter project. So here we need to specify the name of our project. Our project name is Spring Boot. Okay, Spring Boot AOP Demo App. Okay, and here I'm trying to pass the required build tool, that is Maven build tool, and packaging is jar, and required Java version is 8, and language I'm just going to specify Java. And when it comes to group point of view, I'm just going to specify com. Spring Boot AOP, and description is here I'm going to implement one simple application that is on Spring Boot AOP. Okay, AOP demo. Spring Boot AOP, simple. And the package name is com. Spring Boot AOP. Perfect, right? So we just need to click on next button. After that, the next step is we need to pass the required dependencies. So for my application development, the required dependencies are here. My requirement is I want to execute one simple web application, right? So better to take a Spring Web dependency. And in the same way, I need one more dependency, that is JPA, because I want to interact with database. So that's the reason Spring Data JPA dependency. And one more dependency is if you want to work with MySQL database, then the required dependency is MySQL driver. So here, what kind of advice you are going to apply? As I already told you, either it may be logging services, security, transaction management, anything. So, but in my application, I'm just going to apply some logging services. Okay, some logging services. So for applying logging services, there are different ways, but when it comes to Spring Boot point of view, you can simplify it by just taking the support of one dependency. So that is Lombok dependency. So by using this, actually, you can able to get the supported log4j tool, I mean to say SLF4j tool automatically, okay, by just using this dependency. Now you can able to work with one simple annotation, that is @SLF4j annotation, to apply logging services on your application. Okay, so I hope everything is clear. We just need to click on next button, and after that finish. So you need to wait for a few seconds. So the project is going to create. Can you please observe on bottom of your STS ID, you can able to get some progress bar, so that is showing 100% is completed successfully. So now can you please check the prototype of application? So the application is created, I mean, a Spring Boot project is created properly with all the folders, right? So now, can you please check it whether all the dependencies are added successfully or not? Yes, all the dependencies are added, but here my requirement is I want to apply some advices, right? So to apply advices, I'm just going to take the support of one more dependency. So I'm just trying to get it from internet. Okay, so just open it and Google Spring Boot AOP dependency. Okay, Spring Boot AOP dependency. So you can get it from Maven repository. So just click on this one and get any version, like, because in our Spring Boot version is not the problem, right? So just copy this one and I'm just going to keep it into after the web. One more required dependency is this one. So as I already told you, version is not the problem, right? So let's service. So we added successfully all the dependencies, right? So now the next step is we just need to focus on, I mean, here my requirement is I just want to communicate with the database, right? So if you want to communicate with database, then the required configuration stuff you need to pass from here, right? So like we need to pass Spring.data source.url. So that is JDBC colon MySQL colon / localhost colon 3306 / any database. For example, here I'm just want to create Product.Java, and in the same way we need to pass Spring.data source.username equal to root, and my database password is Spring.data source.password equal to password. Perfect, right? Along with this, we need to pass some Hibernate configuration. Like we need to write Spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl auto. I'm just going to pass the value as update. Perfect, right? After this, we need to focus on two steps are successfully completed, right? And the next step is we need to create many packages as part of our application development. I mean to say, here at present, only one package is there, that is Spring Boot AO. But here my intention is I'm just going to implement one simple service which is used to perform different CRUD operations. So when the service is going to execute, my intention is I want to apply some advice on that service. Okay, that is my requirement. So that's the reason I'm just going to create the required, the required packages. The first one is for implementing entity class. A model package is required. And if you want to perform different CRUD operations, so better to take the support of repository, and to implement all the services, better to create one simple package, that is services. And to write the logic properly, we just need to create one more folder. The folder name is controller. And in the same way, we need to create one more folder with the name. Here, my intention is I just want to apply some aspect, right? So that's the reason. Better to take the support of one more package, that is aspect package. Okay, perfect. So now we need to focus on a model part. Like here, I'm just going to create one simple entity. So the entity name is like product. Okay, so click on finish button. Here, I'm just trying to pass it as one simple entity. So better to take it as entity annotation. And I just want to create some table with the name product information. Okay. And But if you take some required properties like private, long product ID, and private string product name, and private double price, right? And after this, I'm just trying to generate the required setters and getter methods for all the fields. Click on generate button. Perfect, right? So we need to import the required annotations here. The first annotation is @entity annotation, and one more required annotation is @table annotation, right? And to generate the ID value automatically, we just need to work with one simple annotation, that is okay, @ID and @generated value. So generation type dot author. So we just need to import the ID from javax.persistent and generated value from javax.persistent. Okay. And I just want to give some different column name. So just work with one simple annotation, that is column name equal to product ID. Okay. So better to import this annotation also. Right. When it comes to product name, I'm just going to give the name as product name. In the same way, when it comes to price point of view, required column name is name equal to product price. Perfect, right? So after implementing this bean component, I mean to say entity class, we need to focus on repository implementation. Okay, so that's the reason I'm just going to create one simple repository interface. The name is product repository. Click on finish button. Okay, so here we need to extend it from public interface product repository, that is going to extend from either you can able to extend from CRUD repository, or you can able to extend from JPA repository. I'm just going to extend from JPA repository, and this JPA repository requires some generic information like what the model, what the entity class you are using, and what is the ID type. Okay, so here I'm using product type, and the ID is long type. Perfect, right? And let's import it. Product class, spelling mistake. Product, right? So here we just need to import it. Product. Perfect. And after that, you just need to represent with one simple annotation, that is repository, and import it with the stereotype annotation. Perfect, right? So we implemented repository class also, repository interface also. Here we extended with JPA repository. So here all the methods are there, and build methods you can able to work with to perform different CRUD operations, right? As part of saving, update, delete, okay, find all, find by ID, all the method supports are there. So after this, I'm just going to focus on one more thing, that is to implement service. To implement service, first I'm just going to create one simple interface. The service name is product service. Okay, so here the required methods are, I just want to return a list of product information. So the type is list type and product and get all products. This is the method. So which will help you to return all the products. Okay. So better to import it from required packages. I mean Java.util, the list change, and product from com.springbootAopDemoApp. Perfect, right? And in the same way, I just want to retrieve. I just want to add a product information into database. So here, the type is after adding, it need to display the product type. The product add product. Simply, I'm just trying to add a product information. Perfect, right? These are the two methods. At present, I'm just focusing on one is getting all the products information, and one is how to add product information. Okay. And after implementing the services, we need to implement these things. Implementation of these two methods with the support of repository, right? So for that, I'm just trying to implement one class. The class name is product service implementation. Okay, product service implementation. So click on finish button. Perfect, right? So here we need to specify this one as one service with the help of one simple annotation, that is @service annotation. So better to import it from the stereotype annotation. And after that, here we need to auto-wide the required dependency. I mean to say auto-wide. So we need to auto-wide. The name is product repository object. Okay. Product repository object. So just import it. One is auto-wide, another one is product repository. These two things were very important. Okay. And after that, I'm just going to implement the service implementation from implements from product service. So we need to implement all the methods. So click on add unimplemented methods. Okay. And now what my intention is, there are two methods. One is to get all the products. Okay. And one more is we need to add the product information. Okay. So here, when I'm trying to add, when I'm trying to retrieve, it need to return all the product information. So we need to call one simple product repository dot find all method. That's it. It will return all the product information by using the simple method. Okay. And after that, here I need to return, I need to add the product and then I need to return that value. So for that, we just need to call product repository dot save method with, I'm just going to save the product information. That's it. So this is the simple implementation of product service. How simple it is, right? And after that, we need to focus on our controller part. Okay. So here, we are going to write the business methods, right? So the class name is product controller. Okay, product controller. So here we need to specify this one as a controller. So by using REST controller annotation, and I just want to mention some global path. So that's the reason I'm just trying to write request mapping a slash products. Okay, slash products. And better to import these two annotations. One is REST controller annotation and other one is request mapping annotation. And after that, we just need to bind or configure with the support of provide the service. Actually, we need to take the support of service, product service object. Okay, so just bind this one, and you need to import product service. Perfect, right? So now here our real business logic will start. Okay, so I'm just going to write the business logic, that is with the help of some business method. So, but before that, whatever the operation you are performing, for example, in case your requirement is getting the data, so then you need to work with one simple annotation, that is get mapping. So slash get products. Okay. And better to write one simple business method, that is public, okay, list of product information. And here I'm going to write get all products. Get all products. Okay, so better to import it, the get mapping annotation, as well as the product spelling mistake. Yeah, there is no spelling mistake. We just need to return some value. Okay, import product, and after that we just need to add return statement, right? So in this return statement, here our requirement is we need to get the products, right? So that's the reason I'm just going to write, so product service dot, okay, product service dot get all products. Then what happened? All the information will come from this method, and it will be stored into, it will be list out all the information into list type, actually, whatever the products are there. So all the information is going to display. In the same way, we need one more method, so that is add the product. So obviously, if you want to add the product, then what happens? So you need to take the support of one simple constructor, annotation. So that is @post mapping annotation. Okay, so that's the reason I'm just going to write @post mapping. Okay, so public. So I just want to display product information. So add after adding. Okay, add product of product P. Perfect, right? So better to import it. Perfect. And add return statement. So in the return statement, what is our main agenda? We are trying to add the product information, right? So at that moment, we just need to return product service dot add product of P. That's simple, actually, because add product method we already implemented here in the services, right? So we're just going to call that one. Okay, so this is the way to implement entity class as well as service, repository, and controller. Everything is perfect. Okay, but here, so this is going to execute properly, not a problem. But what my agenda is, when these methods are going to execute along with this, I just want to execute some logging services. Okay, a logging mechanism with the help of AOP, with the help of some aspects. So that's the reason here I created one simple package with the name AOP, right? Okay, with the name AOP. So I'm just going to implement the code in AOP, aspect code. Just create one simple class with the name logging aspect. Perfect, right? So here, what my intention is to specify this as aspect. So better to work with one simple annotation, that is @aspect, and one more annotation. So this is one simple component, and one more annotation to work with a self4j. So now what you need to do is you need to import all these required dependencies, annotation, uh, stereotype component, and SLF4J from Lombard, all these things, right? So now here we need to write, okay? So we need to create one simple object, okay? So with this creating logger object, log equal to, okay, logger dot get logger of, here you need to pass the class name. Here I'm applying all the services into by using logging aspect dot class. Okay, so we created the object successfully, right? So now we need to create one simple point cut. So at the rate point cut. So here you need to specify the value that where you are going to apply your advice. Okay, like value equal to here execution of star. Okay, so here we need to specify the name of the package, that is com.SpringbootAopDemoApp dot star. Okay, here you need to specify um, two dots. Okay, perfect. So here you need to write the method action, like whatever the aspect you want to apply. So I'm just going to write public void logging point cut. Okay, logging point cut. Perfect, right? So we just need to import this annotation. So that is, sorry, here see the small letter. Perfect. So import it from org dot, okay, here. Now, I'm going to apply this point cut. I mean, I just want to execute this advice as a round advice actually. I mean, so before the business method execution as well as after the business method execution, I just want to check what happening. Okay, so that's the reason I'm just going to use around advice. The type of advice is around, and here we need to write the name of the advice, that is logging point. Okay, logging point cut. Okay, logging point cut. This is the method, right? Logging point cut. After this, we just need to apply this on one simple method, that is public object type. So logging advice. Okay, logging advice. So here we need to specify the object name, that is join point, that is proceeding. Okay, proceeding join point, with some object name like pz, and throws, okay, throws like some exception, like, or we can use the throw, not a problem. Okay, so here we just need to import this around advice with this annotation, and one more required one is proceeding join point. We need to specify, and after that we need to return some statement. Okay, so what we are going to return here. Okay, so like this point cut need to display different information. To get this information, first of all, we need to take the support of one simple class. The class name is object mapper. Okay, so object mapper equal to new object mapper. Perfect, right? So we need to import it. Object mapper. Perfect. And after that, sorry, I forget to keep this return statement at present. Okay. So now what we are going to get the things right. First of all, I just want to get what method is going to execute. I just want to get the method name. So just write string method name equal to, by using point join cut, we can able to get it pj dot get signature dot get name. Perfect, right? In the same way, we need to get string class name equal to pj dot get I mean to say get target dot get class dot to string. We can able to get the class name. So now I want to display this information with the help of blocking. Okay. So get it to uh, take the, I mean, a list of information we need to display. So that's the reason I'm writing here object array type. So here, like point join cut dot get argument. Okay, so now I'm just going to display it with the help of log.info, and here one by one, that is what exactly class name, like I'm just going to write inside, okay, inside class name, and after that class, okay, and after that we need to display method name plus of method with request, okay, with request. Here I'm going to get mapper dot write value as string. Here we need to pass that array information. Okay. So one part is completed. And after that, I just want to get response information like object response equal to is a, I mean, point joint cut dot proceed. So here I'm going to display the information like log.info, log.info. So here the same information that is inside class name and method name. Okay, so just copy this one and paste here. Instead of array, I'm just going to write here as response. Response. That's it about this one. So now we need to return what exactly the information that is. I just want to return response information. Okay. So return response. Perfect, right? Yeah. This is the way to implement one sample application. Okay. So I think everything is perfect. But before that, before execution of this one, to be frank, by default, it runs with the port number 8080. I don't want to run with that port number. So that's the reason I just want to change the port number. So I just want to pass some configuration like server dot port equal to 2020. Save this one. Perfect, right? So now open the MySQL database and check it. MySQL Workbench. And the password is password. Click on OK. Perfect, right? So now we need to check the database name, that is use Product.Java. Whether this database is, no, this database is not there. So we need to create it. Create database Product.Java. Perfect, right? So the database is created, and after that, use Product.Java. So now we are trying to run our application. So As I already told you, even though it is a Spring-based web application, we can able to run it as a regular standalone application by just click on Run as Java application. Okay. So remind me later. Oh, it is showing some error. We'll check it. What is it? Creating bean with name, projecting argument resolver bean post parser defining class path, that is star com.springbootAOP dot star. Okay, like dot star dot star dot star, and here can you please check in the code one simple error, that is when it comes to aspect here, after closing this, actually I mean to say we need to start from one more bracket is required. That's it. Save this one and try to relaunch the program. See here. Here our Tomcat server. So I think there is some spelling mistake in Application.Properties when I'm trying to pass the Spring.Data source. See, this is the problem. Password equal to password. So now I'm trying to relaunch the program. See here. Now our server is running with the port number 2022, right? So better to clear this information. Okay. I'm just trying to open a Postman to check the service whether it is executing properly or not. But when the service is executing, can you please check in the console so that it is executing with some advice information, I mean logging information or not? Okay. So the port number is 2022/products/get all products. And here the required method is get method. And click on send button. Products/get all products. Okay. Product service and repository as well as controller/products. Okay, /get products. That is not get all products actually. It just get products. That's the reason it is showing error. Just click on send button. See there at present it is showing some empty array, and can you please check in the console? See here. It is going to execute whatever the services we implemented as response inside class com.springbootAOP.controller as well as service. Okay. As part of class, first we call get all products actually, but there is no such type of methods actually. Okay, so when we are trying to call get all products, it's trying to execute. Better to clear it and call it one more time. So it's showing empty array, right? So check in the console. See here, inside class Spring Boot AOP product controller. So like, okay, the method which is executing get all products method actually, get all products, but it is showing empty arrays, empty array. So it is focusing on everything actually. I mean to say, controller point of view, what happening in the business method as well as service point of view also, right? So now I'm trying to add some product actually. Okay. So better to create some new tab and copy this entire path and paste here. And here, instead of get products, I'm just going to add product, and header information is content type. So that is application.JSON, and we need to choose the required method is post method, not get method. Okay. So in the body, we need to pass some information in the form of JSON, like product name is some LG product, and price is some 20,000. See here, product/add product, spelling mistake. Click on send button. Okay. Product/add products. Can you please check the business method name and the controller class? So post mapping, get products. Oh, here I forget to specify the path. That's a problem. /add product. Save this. Better to start the server. And I'm just trying to relaunch the application one more time. So at this time, the server starts with the port number 2022, right? So better to remove all this information. And now my intention is I just want to add some product. Okay. So click on send button. See here, the product is added successfully with product ID 1, product name, null, it is showing null, and price is 0. Why it is null? Sorry, here the problem is we need to pass all the information, that is product name and price. Product name and price. And we need to add to product ID, the column names or product name and price is 0. Here we need to call one simple method. So that is add products at that moment. So we just need to call one simple method that is there in the service. So that is product service implementation and product repository.save method. Okay, so here also we try to call product controller/add product. Okay, so add product of, we are just trying to pass this information, that is P. So once it is added, actually it need to return the product information, right? So get it to product P, product equal to product service return product. I mean, you can write the logic, okay, in any style, not a problem. So just relaunch the application. Clear this one, and I'm just trying to pass some product information, that is add product name is LG and price is 20,000 in the JSON format. Just click on send button. So it is going to add product ID too, but at present the values are going, are not going properly, not an issue. Can you please check whether the services, AOP services are executing properly or not actually? See here, controller, product controller, so whatever the logging information that we just implemented, like inside class com.spring boot controller, product controller, and what happening in product service implementation, and save method. In the save method, what it is happening inside, add product method with product ID, product name. Okay. So with all this information, you can able to see. And can you please check all this information is going to here or not? Like show tables. See there, the table is created automatically. Okay, now you can able to see the information like select start from product info. So by using this statement, you can able to see the list of products information which we added actually. Okay, which we added with product ID, product name. Just like this, we can able to execute the logging services with the help of AOP, I mean aspects. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll meet in the next video with some new concepts. Okay, thank you.